Call the regular Dixon County Commission meeting to order, 21st November 2024. Please stand for the flag salute.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of America, to the republic which stands one nation, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Before I make the motion to approve the agenda as printed, I ask everybody to please mute your cell phones, please. With that, I'll make a motion to approve the agenda as printed.
I'll second.
Been moved and seconded. Any other discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. Consent agenda, minutes of the 14th meeting, November 14th meeting, minutes of the November 14th canvas payroll of $413,762.37, and credit cards of $37,438.94.
I move to approve the consent agenda.
Been moved and seconded. Any
I'll
other?
second.
Been moved and seconded. Any other discussion? Not all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carried. Commissioner comments, committee reports, Mr. Rohr.
I appreciate getting some moisture. It's kind of nice out there now. And appreciate the couple of focus about the situation today. That's all I have.
Mr. Peterson.
This past Monday, I attended as a board member the Central Kansas Mental Health Court in Saline County. Levita Montgomery also is a representative from Dickinson County that is on that board. And one of the things they're doing to expand services is the purchase of a new building. It's on Iowa Street over there. It's going to take some remodeling and so on, but it's going to be a very nice facility. It's kind of in the area of the Board of Trade building over on East Iron Street, just adjacent to it. Also, we did have a Dixon County EDC board meeting this past week, and Jessica Goodell is the director. She's doing a great job. There's quite a few ribbon cuttings that are taking place. There's various other opportunities that she is working on. So that's all I have.
Thank you. I attended virtually yesterday at KEC meeting, and I brought attention to Janelle that the price of ambulances, I should say the price, the lead time for ambulances now is over 2 years in fire equipment. So we'll take that to our EMS director and health department director to see what we need to get on the books. We need presentation, proclamations, none. We will go down, we're going to go to Janelle's report. We will go to public comments if anything's not on the agenda. Any non-agenda items that are on the agenda.
Nobody with their hand raised.
So we'll go ahead and we'll go back to public review at 11:15. Janelle, you want to give your report?
Commissioners, come on. Commissioners, EMS filled the ambulance in Harrington 3 weeks ago with 700 items, and in Abilene this last weekend with 1,630 items. And they will be in Chapman this weekend, and the donations will go to the local food bank. So this is a project that our EMS staff has worked on for the past several years, and we appreciate patrons that are willing to donate those items to the food banks. That's great. The treasurer has advised the tax statements will be going out soon. The highway department's been blading the roads. As Ron mentioned, we've had rain, so the roads need to be taken care of, and we're getting on them as quick as we can. They're also hauling salt and sand in preparation for winter. Just as a reminder, county offices will be closed November 28th and 29th for Thanksgiving. And since the annual KAC conference, Kansas Association of Counties Conference, is coming up the first week of December, the county commission meeting will be moved to December 2nd with the study session at 10:30 and the regular meeting at 11. And that's all I would have.
Any questions for Janelle? County Councilman Doug?
Thank you. Just a couple of things. The first one is that I've been working with the Drug Recovery Court. And if you're not familiar with that, that's people who have got themselves into a mess from meth and other drugs. And we're trying our best to help them to recover and not have to go to prison because of the obvious reasons. So I've been working on that. The other is the working with we're at this time of year where we would be putting together those attorneys who are going to be working on court-appointed cases, and we're working on getting that group put together, and so that's what I've been working on. Hopefully we'll have that all done by the middle of December. Thank you.
Any questions for Doug? Gene, you want to give your question update? County Clerk?
Okay, I just want to give you an update on the election, the general election, and thank you for your help with the canvass. We had a total of 9,124 votes or ballots that went through the machine. We had 316 at the canvass, 171 were accepted. And then 62 were hand counted, 109 went through the machine. So, and we had 27 new recalls with a total of 9213 ballots cast, which was 67%. And today we'll submit the abstract to be signed to finalize. That's all I have.
Any questions for Jeannie? Thank you. Going on notice of communications, we're going to be getting to a public hearing real quick. Notice of communications, there was none. Introduction, consider resolutions, none. Unfinished business, none. Other business, certified the total for the general election after canvass. Jean?
As I said, we had our canvas, and these are the total, grand total and percentage. As I said, 9213. We had 13,798 registered voters. So that made a 67% turnout.
Any questions for Jean? If not, I entertain a motion to certify the election.
So moved.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Any other discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. We need an authority to approve commissioner to sign payroll on December 5th. Then would you be willing to do that?
Yes.
I'll make a motion. Commissioner Peterson to sign the payroll.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Any other discussion?
You might just mention the reason is we want to hold a meeting that day.
We don't hold a meeting that day. Any other discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carried. Now, we're going to approve a special meeting for December 2nd, which you're talking about. So we need to make a motion to do that
I'll make a motion. Second.
with stipulations that the work session will start at 10:30 and the regular meeting will start at 11. I'll second that motion. Any other discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carried. Approved enterprise police contract, Janelle.
Commissioners, as you know, we provide police services. The Sheriff's Department does in 2 of the communities in the county, one of which is Enterprise. And Sheriff Davis has negotiated a contract. This is for 1,200 man hours per year at a total of $70,201.06 per year. And basically, they are providing the law enforcement services through the city for that number of hours. There's a few other things that are part of this, present during schools. During the school zones, they would also handle municipal court sessions as needed and attend monthly council meetings as needed. So this is a standard practice that we've done, or contract that we've handled for quite a few years. Solomon was the first one, and that's been since the 90s. Enterprise came on a few years ago, and we just asked for your approval on this.
What was the amount for it,
So the total is $70,201.06 for a total of 1,200 man hours.
Any questions for Janelle? I have a motion to approve this contract.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second it. Any other discussion? If not, all in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, motion carried. Sign notices in Township Board Affairs Station Serial Malt Beverage Application.
Oh, correct.
Malt beverage. license.
Oh, yes. Sorry. The renewal of the zero malt beverage license for Ferris Station on and off premises. They expire at the end of the year, and this is just a one that needs to be signed by the commissioners too,
Where's this location
in Woodbine, Liberty Township. And this is just the form that needs to be filled out, to be sent to the township, saying that you're aware of it.
at? Township has to approve it then too.
Yes.
Any questions for Jeannie? If not, I'd entertain a motion to approve the zero beverage license.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Any other discussion? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye opposed, motion carried.
Right. I just want to say it's the application, it's not the license yet. Yeah.
Okay, applications for the license. I'm to vote. We've got about 3 minutes before we go ready for a public hearing. Feel free to talk, but once the meeting starts, and ask for booing, cheering,
So it was wrong.
not will be. I'll give you one warning, not will be turning the ball. 3 minutes to go.
Okay.
This one. Let's see, okay. And now Lucinda, Barb.
She's looking.
15. Dan, Dustin, Heather. Keith, Grant. Keith, Grant. And Stephanie. Yeah. Tim, there's a mic up there. Yep. Craig, here's your mic.
Call a public hearing session, and it's for the review CUP 2406 Oak Ridge Wind Project. I will make a statement that the reason we're not taking public comments is we've been given by 3 different attorneys that we do not have to accept public comments. We've accepted public planning and zoning, had a 7.5-hour meeting, and we've got this, I'll just go through here. We've got 350 pages plus of signers, over 300 emails that we received from the county website. I have kept track of them, and I've received many calls and emails on my private phone. And we've had public comments now for 2 years. I'll turn the meeting over to Tim, our planning and zoning administrator. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is for CUP 24-06. The applicant, Hope Ridge Wind Project LLC. The applicant is proposing a 334 megawatt wind energy conversion system comprising approximately 75 turbines. Project area will encompass portions of multiple townships and will be named the Hope Ridge Wind Project. Applicant is proposing a minimum height turbine base blade depth between 591 feet not to exceed 657. Wind energy facilities of a commercial grade has been present in the state of Kansas. The first facility, the modern facility, was approved and constructed in Gray County back in 2002. All facilities constructed prior to January 1st, 2017, a lifetime property tax exemption, whereas those constructed since this date are under a 10-year tax. Facilities, whether under the lifetime exemption or the 10-year exemption, may enter into a voluntary agreement with the county establishing annual payments into a tax pilot. If this project is approved, Hope Ridge LLC has agreed to enter into such agreement with the county. Although payments are voluntary, staff research does not reveal any counties within Kansas where the pilot payment has been withheld. In an effort to promote conservation of the Flint Hills region, Governor Kelly extended a limited moratorium on wind power in this area. However, Dickinson County is not included within the defined area of this moratorium, which terminates at the West Erie County line. Wind turbines are vulnerable to natural disasters, damage from high wind, hail, tornado, lightning strikes. While there have been incidents within Kansas of turbines catching fire or falling on the road, there is no indication that any structures, residential or otherwise, have been damaged. Cleanup is typically the responsibility. The incidents involving fallen turbines public right of way or in our counties or where there is basically no zoning regulations or any setback requirements in place. All deliverables as currently required under Article 21 related to the application for conditional use permit that was submitted, the application was accepted. That has been coordinating with the applicant since 2023 on other documents required under our regulations, including the road maintenance and decommissioning. All agreements are being reviewed by both county council and the independent third party to ensure accuracy and fairness. The county and the taxpayers project approval. Due to the scale and scope of this project, providing a recommendation for this application, there is no historic precedent there. Although there are nearly 50 wind farms established in various counties within the state of Kansas, the county commission must determine if establishment of such use is appropriate for Dickinson County. To do this, the county commission must consider the two primary questions in reviewing this case, and those are the spirit and intent of the economic development and use provisions outlined in the comprehensive plan regarding alternative energy supported by this proposal, and does the health, safety, general welfare of the community outweigh the right of the owners of participating properties to increase the value of their land by establishing this type of commercial structure on the land. Comments from other departments and agencies. On June 17th, county staff hosted a public meeting between Home Grid Project and townships that will be impacted by the project. Meeting addresses any concerns the township boards make it during the construction phase of this project. Staff has received numerous comments and concerns from both for and against this project from various residents. These comments were expressed either during the public comment portion of county commission meetings or submitted to staff in writing. All comments received in writing are entered as part of the public comment record of the hearing. Staff would like to thank the members of the public for sharing their comments and concerns, whether in support or in opposition to the project. Before I go into the commission, what I would like to do is acknowledge that the staff did receive on October 31st a total of over 200 individual protest petitions. Myself and a couple of other people have double checking and counting all of these petitions to make sure that everything is correct. Of the over 200 that we received, 27 petitions were for parcels outside of the notification area, and therefore considered. One lacked, only one lacked the total ownership signatures. But other than that, there were 4 that we saw that were signed by notified owners. It was difficult to determine whether those 4 are like parcels we were trying to indicate. So what I did is I gave credit, even though the document couldn't really tell which of the parcels indicate as long as it was in the section township. And I was getting an idea. There's a couple of those that it looked like someone had been off their R number. They had to do a parcel about 1 digit. So I gave credit for these types of situations. So there were 4 of those I gave credit for. There were 5 petitions, forms that had 2 pages stapled to accommodate all of their ownership. And so the total number of valid petitions is 169. This represents 169 parcels and 97 property owners. And this is because we had parcels that were owned by like one individual. With that, the total acreage within the notification area, which includes those parcels within 1,000 feet of the project boundaries, is 73,833.78 acres. The total acreage of all valid petitions submitted is 11,139.8 acres. This represents a little over 15% of the total acreage within the notification area. Therefore, simple majority and not unanimous vote would be enough to approve the project. I have to say that the individual put these petitions together did a yeoman's job on this. It's within the time span it took. And so they did the fact that there was only one of them lacking all the ownership signatures. The only thing is those, I thought was that there were 27 outside the notification area. considered. Those were parcels that were within that notification area over 100 acres each. There's no doubt they would hit that 20%. So with that, I will do is to go over your options for consideration.
I'll be able to ask a question about the protest. So there's the guidelines for the protest petition, and I don't know if I had the, when I looked at it, it did mention that there was a by 20% of the owners of the property, and then it had or by 20% of the owners. So it would be the number of owners and not this.
It's considered acreage. So what we do is
It had an option, it said or.
there's or, and what I did is I considered both. And there were only, it came out to total of 97 owners total.
Okay, so you did look at both.
I looked at both just to be on the
So
safe
it's
side. Even though
an either or, you could, one of those would be qualified.
Okay, so I did that. So technically, I would have been like, I said 100, I said minimum of 20%. I would have probably looked for 101. And so it came out. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, it came out to be 97. And with that, I will go ahead and, want me to go ahead and get into your options. Your options would be to okay, under section 26-102 of the zoning regulations, identifies the options available to the county commission. When considering this case, you can adopt the planning commission's recommendation by resolution. The county commission may, by simple majority, approve the planning commission's recommendation to deny the request. The county commission should identify the reasons for the decision based for their decision based on the findings and review criteria presented for your consideration. Staff would prepare a resolution to be voted on at the next available meeting. The other would be to override the planning commission's recommendation. The county commission may, by 2/3 majority vote, simple majority of the membership of the county commission, override the planning commission's recommendation of denial and approve the request for Bridge One project version system with the staff conditions that we be going over shortly. The county commission may modify the conditions that I'll be presenting as they see fit. That would prepare a resolution approving CUP 2406 with all conditions as presented or amended by the county commission to be voted on at the meeting of, I think we will be, 12th. It'll be actually December 12th. The option to approve would only, would in this case, require a simple majority vote to the with that, I will go over the conditions, the conditions that I placed and is recommending for this particular project. The first condition is no building permit be approved, no construction commenced until a finalized all route is submitted by the developer or the road or bridge conditions evaluated and surveyed by the county prior to construction. Prior to issuance of a building permit, a full meets and bounds description of the property must be submitted and recorded with the register of deeds. Any surety amounts as currently outlined in the road maintenance agreement may be adjusted accordingly as related to observed conditions of road infrastructure along the finalized haul route. Performance surety can amount to cover decommissioning of all WEX infrastructure in the event the developer fails to complete the project, and amount estimated by the county engineer shall be submitted prior to a building permit being issued. Once the construction phase is complete, final turbine complete, and all construction equipment removed, the developer shall then receive notice from the county with the option that performance surety shall be held by the county to function as a decommissioning surety for the lifespan of the project. In an effort to assure fiscal accuracy over time, all sureties that are required under including decommissioning and road maintenance shall have their dollar costs evaluated and adjusted. I've got down every 5 years is my understanding. You can go ahead and this is one that you would be able to amend. So you can make that like 3 years or whatever. But I've got down 5 years for the satisfaction of the county. In an effort to ensure environmental safety, developer must, at their expense, perform soil and water slop testing around the base of turbines from a third-party tester every 3 years, with results submitted to the county. With the exception of letters of credit, all other forms of surety may be acceptable to the county, with reference to those formats which allow funds to be readily accessible in the event of an emergency. Prior to a building permit being issued, the developer must submit an emergency response plan to the satisfaction of the county emergency management and fire district. Emergency response plan must address response times to address environmental issues and include mitigation measures. Developer shall submit pilot payments beginning the year the project is online. Pilot payments shall not be reduced or any funds diverted to meet the obligation or other required sureties, such as road maintenance and decommissioning. Pilot payment shall cease upon expiration of the tax exemption unless the developer applies for an extension of the exemption beyond the 10 years, at which point the pilot payments would continue. Dickinson County does reserve the right to negotiate an increase in these payments in the event of tax exemption. Developer is proposing the turbine height will not exceed 657 feet. Staff is initially recommending a base tip blade height shall not exceed 500. This is one of those, again, one of those conditions that you feel necessary to amend, you can. Upon decommissioning, the turbines must be removed by reverse engineering with no decommission or demolition, with all debris removed from the county jurisdiction. On decommissioning, concrete base shall be cut down to 36 inches, covered with topsoil and seeded with native grass, covering which is acceptable to the landowner. Turbines shall be equipped with ADLS lighting, which shall remain off unless an aircraft is within the vicinity of the turbine. Audible sound of the turbine shall not exceed a reading of dBA 55, as measured by staff the decibel meter from the property line closest to non-participating residents. No turbine may be placed within 2 miles of any contiguous incorporated city limits. In the event the lease any participating property is transferred or sold to another provider. Transfer or sale must be recorded with the register of deeds. Contact information, the new deed receipt provided to the county zoning administrator. Maximum slope of land that any turbine foundation is sited shall not exceed 15%. And with that, the only other option that you would have would be if you wanted to send it back. But these are your options. Those are the conditions that were placed on that if it is approved. Those are conditions that you either add to or modify if you see fit.
And the applicant, Tim, the applicant.
And the applicant is present to answer any questions you might have.
Commissioner Roller Peterson, you have Commissioner Tim to clarify things he might have said.
I do have a question on the height restriction on the wind farm. Yes, Mike. Because of the height condition of the generators, is there any more setback on that? They're going to be taller than originally was planned. I believe it was said that you can't get the smaller one, so it's taller.
Yeah, I think the question was that, I think what happened is, I think we can talk about it, if it gets approved, and if they go with those taller turbines, the applicant has agreed to go with 2 times rather than 1 setback from the required 1.5. I think that they go with the taller ones, they're my experience.
That's much my hand. Thanks.
Any questions, Glenn? Any questions for the applicant? Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, the applicant is.
Introduce yourself, please.
Yes, I'm Lori Mendoza. I am the Southwest Regional Development Director for the Northern Valley.
Okay, so some of these questions are going to be for review purposes, but also I don't want to dominate this where if either of the other commissioners have a question. So this is kind of going back to the beginning. This is going back a little bit more to the beginning as far as on the road improvements and identifying your haul routes and such. How long is that going to take as far as installation purposes? How long are those roads going to be tied up with construction, you might say, or heavy trucks going back and forth and equipment?
We estimate the construction to take 6 to 9 months. That's from start to finish for one project. So there's various levels of impact during that time, not necessarily heavy equipment the whole time, but for the full construction, starting with roads on the private property, improving the county roads where necessary, and then bringing in the turbine blades and other parts. It'll be intermittent use, but I would say 6 to 9 months.
And if you can you speak a little louder, they will do so.
So, and this kind of leads to one area of concern. A lot of the focus has been on what the haul routes would be and the roads and getting the equipment in. There's normal type traffic that takes place, whether it's school buses or FedEx or people going back and forth. And for myself, if there was extra traffic and heavy equipment, I would want to try to avoid those. But also then what happens is some of those other roads maybe are not prepared for extra traffic. So is rock and improvements brought in for the roads where people have to reroute?
I believe it'll just be the roads that are identified in the road maintenance agreement that we work out with.
So those other roads likely would fall on the responsibility of the county or the townships if diverted traffic ended up on some of those roads and the school buses. I mean, having said that, if the child, for example, on the school bus has to be picked up, I mean, you can't divert them, you can't make them walk extra mile down the road or whatever. So anyway, I was just wondering how that had been addressed or how that had been done with some of your other projects, or have you been involved in the other projects?
I have been in renewable energy since 2007. As far as the construction of roads and working with commissioners on a road maintenance agreement, I have not had that particular situation come up. Greg, correct me if I'm wrong, I believe that through the road maintenance agreement, and let me just introduce, this is Greg Musil, he's our local legal counsel, and I also have Josh Slotty, he is our consultant as well. Greg's been involved in the documentation of this agreement, so he's our legal counsel.
I think the right answer is when we get to the road maintenance agreement, which we have agreed to a format, but it is not final, it will come back to you all and you approve the CUP. I think when you get the format, the county road maintenance folks look at where you might have to detour. That would be a certain place where you could provide your input. This road is going to be used for 6 weeks because this road is going to have intermittent construction. We need some improvements on that road. That would be something we certainly look at with you, and that would be within your control. But I too have not seen that come up. Usually the county road that would work, but if there are specific diversions of detours that need to be done for the project, you can control that within the road maintenance agreement.
Okay, thank you. One of the areas also, as far as the road plan, you might say, that you would enact. One of the items I noticed is that you were to be in touch with Kansas Parks and Wildlife. And so considering some of the impact that that has, when we do a bridge, for example, when Topeka Shiner comes into play, there's nesting eagles in the area and such. And so can you share what consultation you've had
Sure.
with Kansas Parks and Wildlife?
Sure, we have already consulted with Kansas Parks and Wildlife. I'm sorry, Kansas Partner Wildlife and Parks. And we did include in our application a letter from them acknowledging that we've already had that outreach, and we will continue to work alongside them. They'll continue to will monitor all of our development and all of our activities, and provide guidelines for us to work either to mitigate or completely avoid any impact of harmful protected species or habitat. And it is part of the application. I'll tell you which it is attachment D, and that's what we call the KDWP consultation.
And kind of for the benefit of people here, what does a consultation actually involve? I mean, is it more than a phone call, or do you have some notations of that, of who you talk to and what they had to say about some of the area?
Yes, so, apologize, it's louder. Yeah, the point of contact on the letter we received is Zach Eddy. Our permitting and environmental specialist works directly with that department. They, in the letter that we provided in the application, they give quite a bit of information as far as for planning the project, ways to avoid or minimize disturbance, a long list. I'm looking at a full page of items that they have submitted. Dealing with floodplains, stream bank disturbances, how we would bore under stream beds. So, yeah, we have, that information from them. Whenever they finalize the review of the project, request proposed project construction locations. If critical habitat is not adversely affected, no additional mitigation measures or permitting from them would be required. If impacts cannot be avoided, an action permit may be required by the agency prior to construction. And there may be permits also required from other agencies. So it's an ongoing effort. We share information, studies that we conduct as well. Not only this agency, but U.S. Fish and Wildlife, and then aerospace, federal aviation, and Department of Defense. Similar ways in which we consult with and coordinate with all of those agencies. It's not just initial outreach, it's ongoing. The development, construction, and even the operation.
So I think that was that Eddie there at Pratt, I believe was who you talked to. So did you get into the fact, like on the Eagles, and they gave the example at Harrington Lake. I mean, they have enough to take care of right there that they stay pretty much in that area. Where this, they're going to extend out. So is this potentially going to change some of your setbacks?
Just as far as eagles are concerned?
The Eagles or the Topeka Shiner?
So those are all things we have already considered. We have already done numerous aerial nesting surveys. And it's just as it sounds, aerial survey to see where eagles nest may be present, to determine if there are any present within our project boundary. So that's the first step. We've done it multiple times already. We'll continue to do another survey. And we did not identify any nests currently in our project boundary, but it's something we will continue to monitor. We've also received minutes where we monitor you here in the eagle's presence, because we know that they will fly as well. So we have supplied that information to U.S. Fish and Wildlife, and in the same way as KDWP, working with them, continue to monitor and ensure that we don't impact the eagles or avians there. And when we do that through the placement of where the turbines are, or avoid, certain areas or setback from any areas that may be identified.
And I think there probably is more activity out there than what shows up on the surveys. That's probably an instance where maybe it's underreported. So how do you get beyond that to find out, because it is the nesting time actually, and there are quite a few of them throughout the county, wherever there happens to be water and a lot of good coverage.
Well, we comply with the local, state, federal guidelines. We work with the agencies that are entrusted to protect these species and to make sure the industry does not impact them. So we work under those guidelines and the surveys that they approve and have used for their information purposes as well.
Okay, thank you. I may get back to you, but actually this is more for Tim. And thank you for your information. Sometimes this is kind of from the city world. They have the golden rules for any time they have a change. And these are, proven, documented type rules that are used. And I know there's differences between a city zoning issue compared to county, but while there's differences, there's also similarities. And so what application do you have from your standpoint as far as guidance on that? Because
I've included, we do have review criteria that I included that's within the staff report that's provided for you. And so that review criteria is I could go over it. It's gonna take a while, several pages long.
I think some of that maybe you could specifically highlight. Some of it has to do would it detrimentally impact or affect surrounding properties and nearby properties? Is that one you would
Right.
want to comment on?
Well, what I'm going to do is let me go ahead and
Page 7, Tim, I think.
7. Public health, safety, and general welfare. In consideration of the application, does the relative gain to the public health, safety, and general welfare outweigh the hardship imposed by not creating the value of the property? So basically what I've got is the state of Kansas and Dickinson County consider property rights to be a priority in reviewing land use cases. Therefore, the commission must consider the rights of participating properties to establish a proposed use which may be higher in intensity than has historically been approved. However, this must also be balanced by considering use sound, use name, potential impact on adjacent non-participating property, and not based on subjective opinion on issues such as turbine height, etc. Currently, the county has no defined we call view sheds. There are a lot of states that have view shed requirements, protect certain areas. There would be limiting development, which could impact the visual aesthetic to a specific area. Therefore, unfortunately, there is no objective guidance for the commission to consider on such matters. However, since the aesthetics and environmental impacts are addressed as county character under the preservation goals of the comprehensive plan, the commission may consider these and render a decision on the case. If the commission is convinced in the scale and scope of this proposed wind farm, even with the conditions based on it, may have a detrimental impact on health, safety, and general welfare on the area or the overall rural character of the county, the commission may deny this proposal. It's going to have to be something that you're going to have to weigh to economic benefit versus the aesthetic. If there is.
Okay, Tim, once again, you had mentioned on amendments, the setbacks and the height, that's something that can be adjusted if the commission would choose that option.
That's correct.
Are there other areas that can be changed within reason?
Well, I would say, as I mentioned before, have a 5-year review every 5 years, lifetime project for all fiscal aspects. Bond, all different bond, even proposal grade bond. Every 5 years, you can adjust that.
So the bond to take care of decommissioning, just to talk about decommissioning for a little bit, that can change to be reviewed every 3 years to 5, from 5.
Correct.
So in the event, either the political winds, we have a new president coming on, if something would happen unforeseen financially to Enel, and something happens, say 11 years from now, and that bond has expired that they prepaid. So who's responsible and what is the financial obligation that the county or the individuals would have for removal? Would we be able to, with the county, for example, if one of those became inactive, then who's responsible for removing that and assuming the cost for that?
Well, that's the whole point of the bond, the event that they, is a situation where the county would, say, be unlikely, potentially, event, whatever you want to look at, of a company going under, we would have those funds in our name, it would be placed, the bond would be, as you might remember correctly, it would be placed in our name, the bonding, and therefore we can access that in a form, either a bond, referred, either a bond or some other surety that would be able to access immediately, rather than letter of credit, or credit tends to be the first thing to do once company goes under. Those letters of credit don't mean anything, so the bonding is still valid. So a bond would still work, but if you want something that you can access the funds readily, decommission, and use those to be the responsibility at that time of the county to use that money to hire a firm to decommission.
So if the bond expired though, then at that point, where's the liability? So for example, if it were a 5-year bond that was prepaid, is what I assume. I don't know, is it paid year to year? Or you pay it 5 years out? But we're in 2024 now, and say they're in place in 2025, 2030 comes along, and they've changed hands or something has changed, and that bond expires.
Bond would be, if they change hands, then it would be.
And that's the purpose of the review every 3 years, is to monitor that as well.
So that does cover it then if they sell to another.
Correct.
But if they're not in existence, I mean, nobody likes to hear bankruptcy, but if something like that happens, or it is some sort of a shutdown, this is a little bit beyond because it probably would involve international rules. But if that happens, who's responsible for taking those down?
It would be us.
The decommissioning.
It would be us.
The county.
The county would have to, that's why we would have the evaluation of the bond, the amount to cover that decommissioning.
If I may address that, Commissioner.
Yes, please.
The bond is like an insurance policy in your name. So whether Nell is around or Joe's wind company is transferred to Joe's wind company, that bond is there, you review it every 3 years to make sure it's enough to take everything down and out of the county. That bond is in place whether the operator of the wind farm is there or not. In reality, the wind farm has contracts to supply electricity for 20 or 30 years. So there's always a possibility, and that's the worst case, I think, from your perspective as a commission, to protect the county. The same protection is there for all the landowners who will have the fruit on their property. That the bond is separate and apart. It's in the name of the county. The county can call on it under any of the conditions of the CUP or the other agreements violated. The county can then call on that bond company has to pay you to do the work that you thought was gonna be done by the development office. So that's the whole purpose, is to make sure there is an independent source of funds, so the county and the landowners never have to worry. That's a protection that you ought to have, and it is built into the bond.
And I understand, I appreciate your explanation, but a bond does have an expiration date where it has to be renewed.
Well, every 3 years, we would have to purchase a new bond at the new amount. And it would be, that bond would be in place through the life of the project. So it's not going to expire in year 2, I guess is the point. And if it expired in year 2, then we would be in violation of the special use permit, and we would shut us down. So the bond is intended to be purchased going forward for as long as the project is going to be in operation, then make sure it covers the conditions. You're right, you do not want expired bond, because nobody should expect that to be back on the burden on the county or on the landowners who have turbines. So there are financial ways to protect that, and we're committed to do that in a way that makes sense to you when we come back with the decommissioning agreement, which we've agreed to in the standard, but if there are more protections in there, you again will control that to make sure you're comfortable that the bond will be there.
So from a risk management standpoint, we're covered up to a certain point, but wouldn't you agree if something unforeseen happened to Enel and you did not pay that bond when it got ready for renewal, then at some point that bond would expire because you wouldn't be there to pay for it?
That's why you want protection that the bond is in place through the end. So it's not an expiration date, it's something that's gonna go away. I mean, that's the protection that I think they're looking for in the decommissioning agreement, that it is completely independent, not an expiration. It's go through the life of the project, to protect the decommissioning obligations.
And the life of the project, in your estimation?
Normally say 25 to 30 years. I think our estimate of $68 million benefit to the county is at 30 years. And that's kind of life that is estimated at this point.
In regards to the decommissioning, tell us a little bit about when that has occurred, say like in the last 5 years, because there's millions of turbines throughout the world.
Right. I think there are 72,000 turbines or so in the United States. Most of them have not been decommissioned because they're a life cycle of 20 to 30 years. As we heard, the first project in Kansas was 2002. We had presented to Tim yesterday some photographs of a partial decommissioning of a project, demonstrate what it looks like when they're gone. It looks like Kansas pasture land, CRP land, or cropland, because the roads are removed unless the landowner wants to keep them, and the turbines are cut down 36 inches below grade and fill them with native soil, and you can pasture them or cropland them, whatever. You're right, there hasn't been, because of the life cycle of the project, there's not a good example of the project being completely decommissioned.
Well, thank you for your response. And, I certainly wish you well too, but looking at the possibility of both sides, it goes back to that risk management. I still think we have to consider the fact.
You need to protect.
Yeah, who knows what will happen here in 10, 20 years. Tim, the part on the payment in lieu of taxes is, in regards to the payment in lieu of taxes, is that something that we know that amount yet, or is that something that follows at a later date?
That's still something that we would look at again, because those things go into effect still after the project is gone online, and that's not going to be based on what I understand is not going to be until 2026. Those numbers that you might have there on there.
Any other comments, Lynn? Questions?
That's all
Nothing else coming before the public hearing. I'll declare it adjourned, and we'll move on to we want to accept the CUP as presented. Ron, Commissioner Fuller, do you have any comments to make? Commissioner Peterson?
I'm hesitant to enter into this agreement. And I think there's some unknown factors. There have been several surrounding counties that have chosen not to participate in something like this. I believe a lot of it has to do with the impact on a long-term basis, but also even an immediate impact. And I realize there's some good money that could come in on this. But I do have some concerns with the impact on surrounding neighbors. And also on some of the decommissioning.
I'm sorry to interrupt. But they said these are those forms are do front view of the road. So they're still a work in progress. All those we're only looking at whether or not the use itself is acceptable. Those are still.
Anything else, Commissioner Pearson?
No.
Well, I would make a motion to approve the CUP 06 as staff submitted, and the maximum height of the base blade tip shall not exceed 660 feet, and add conditions that the applicant setback should be 2 times the maximum height, and the 3-year review of fiscal issues.
I'll second that motion.
Move in second. Then move in second. Any other discussion?
So would you go ahead and repeat your motion, please?
I would make the motion. I would make the motion to approve CUP 2406 as staff submitted, and the maximum height of the base to blade tip shall not exceed 660 feet, and also add conditions the applicant setback shall be 2 times the maximum height and a 3-year review of fiscal issues.
One amendment I'd like to offer to that motion, and the basis of this has to do with all along we've talked about what's happened at Marion County and use that kind of as a template of how this could be. And down there, I believe 500 feet was the maximum height. And so I would like to have that amended to not exceed 500 feet. As far as an amendment to your motion.
I have second that amendment. Nice, would like a second. Call for a vote by hands. All in favor, say, raise your right hand. Opposed? Left hand. Motion carries 2-1.
I will comment on that also is, I appreciate the work that the Planning Board of Zoning has done and the efforts towards that. And so, that's something too, I think that is a factor as far as the recommendation that was forwarded to us.
Well, Nothing else comes before the board today. Okay. Motion adjourned. I'll make a motion. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed?